in this, our family became very small. Like, I removed myself from social media. I, went into more of an isolation. Obviously, I went to work every single day and performed. Um, but as it related to my family life, we became really small, and we just needed to heal. And there was fear in sharing the story.
Have you longed to use your voice, yearned to express yourself in a bigger way? Have you felt like you've got something important to do on the planet while you're here? If so, you're in the right place. This is the Ideas Love Community Podcast, and I'm your host, Jacquelyn Fletcher Johnson. Hello, everyone. It is Jacquelyn Fletcher Johnson, and we are here to have another cup of coffee together with an incredible human who will be pitching her big idea at the upcoming Gateway Gathering and Pitch Fest in front of a panel of power brokers who can open the door to big stages and big opportunities for her. And I am so excited to introduce you to her. But before I do that, I want to tell you a story. This was going to give you a little bit of background about why I'm doing this, why the Gateway, all of this stuff that you've been seeing me do. You see, I was coaching an executive last fall, and she told her story on a stage of 1,000 people. Now, she had a really, really powerful story to tell, and I helped her architect it and worked with her on presence and delivery. And while she gave her talk, I was backstage, and everyone around me was in tears at her powerful story. It was so good. Oh my gosh, she just had this amazing tale to tell about her family and how it impacted her work. I met her as she was coming off the stage, and she threw herself into my arms. She was absolutely sobbing. And she said, "You have no idea what that meant to me." And I said back to her, "You have no idea what that meant to all the people in the audience who needed to hear your story." That is what excites me beyond belief. That ripple effect of amplifying voices that need to be heard in the world. That's what I do. And that's what the Gateway Gathering and Pitch Fest is all about. So if you haven't checked it out, make sure that you go to gateway-project.com and check it out. Powerful voices that have to be in the world at this particular moment. That's my jam. So today we're going to hear one of them. Allow me to introduce our special guest, Rachel Estes Leyk. Rachel is fueled by curiosity, empathy, and an unshakable drive to solve meaningful problems in both business and life. Raised in Minnesota, she brings a strong Midwest work ethic to her work as a strategist and a leader. And she's shaped by an MBA and a career helping some of the world's largest organizations, navigating complex business and technology challenges. Rachel's held roles with companies including Slalom, Target, and Jostens. And now she works in the enterprise cloud technology space, helping clients turn big ideas into practical, human-centered solutions. So the reason Rachel is here with me today is that she is the author of Responsibility, a book that offers a toolbox of strategies and practical tools grounded in both research and real-life experience to help kids intentionally respond rather than simply react. And you're going to hear a lot more about that. So I would love to introduce you, and I'm just going to, of course, do a little something special here for her as I bring Miss Rachel to the stage. Hi, Rachel.
Hey, how are you, Jackie?
I am good. I am so glad to see you and to be with you in our coffee shop. Do you see our beautiful coffee shop here? Our little background?
I love it. I love it. It's very warm and inviting.
Isn't that fun? I know. Yeah. I love a good coffee shop.
Me too. Me too.
It's so good. I don't even drink coffee. Isn't that terrible?
No,
I'm
there's a
doing
lot
it.
of tea drinkers, hot chocolate, apple cider.
Exactly, exactly. Sadly, I had to give up coffee, but I do have an amazing collection of coffee cups. And so I would love to have you share yours. Do you want to share what you're drinking today?
Okay, so this is my favorite coffee cup. My my manager, Nick Kitchell, gave this to me for a gift. Love it.
Love
But
it.
today I'm drinking Caribou. Caribou coffee, not
Okay.
sponsoring this, but they should. They
But they
should
should.
sponsor this.
Hi, Caribou. Thanks for the shout out to Caribou.
Yeah.
So this is my mug right here. This is for the Dragon Divas. This is my Dragon Boat Racing team of all breast cancer survivors, gold medalists, I will add. Yeah, so I'm drinking out of that today.
That's awesome.
Okay, we have things to talk about. I know we've got folks that are tuning in, so I'm going to be watching the chat. So please do put your comments in, any questions that you have. I'm going to be taking a peek at that as we're going along in our conversation. So feel free to add as we go. And in the meantime, I am going to jump in and we're going to play.
Awesome. I'm ready.
Okay, you're ready? Okay. So first of all, we've known each other for a little while.
We have. We go way back.
We do go way back. Oh. And my original thinking about this was I was going to have 1,000 cups of coffee on this with total strangers, which I continue to do. But sometimes I want to invite people that I used to not know. Yes. And you're one of those people. So we worked together at an advertising agency.
Yeah.
And way back when, we had all these conversations about like, we're going to do something. I don't know what it is.
Yes. Yes. We were living large in our ideation of what we were going to manifest, what we were going to walk into. Yes.
And you have always had something about your energy that we just kind of were waiting for it. And here you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to wait.
You had to wait. So tell me, first of all, why are we here? What are you up to? What has inspired us to meet again?
So we're here because of a life experience, and that life experience turned into a tangible asset for the world, a book. And I knew that I couldn't just bring a book into the world. I had to bring the message with it. And since I've been shouldered with the responsibility to be the vessel to bring that message to the world, I thought, I need a coach. I need to put trust in someone that can help me be sharper, better, and develop the skill I needed. I had some good skill, but I needed more. And so, Jackie, you were the first person I thought of. And I was like, I need Jackie as part of this journey that I'm on.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that so much. Yeah. So, but something horrific happened.
Yes. So the defining moment for our family started with our son, 7th grade. So now just put on your imagination hats, but this was real life. Real life happened. Coop was at lunch. He's 7th grade. He's in line for lunch. And there was an exchange that occurred. That exchange, Cooper didn't think anything of it. He continued through the line, getting his lunch. And as he was getting ready to put his tray down on the table that he always sat at with his buddy, all he heard was, say it to me, what'd you say? And then crushing pain. He was being beat from the back of his head, neck, beat. He lost his vision. He lost his hearing in that moment. And all he knew was to get small and to stay quiet. And this other individual that was beating him ran around the room trying to evade the adults that were trying to control him. And he would return to Cooper and he would land more punches on his face. And he continued to evade the adults that were pouring into the room because it was complete chaos. And he landed more punches on this side of the face. And Cooper was then rushed out of the lunchroom, and 6 other adults cornered the 12-year-old kid and finally got that kid to stop.
Mm.
And, I called 911 because the school didn't. I was notified 2 hours later, so that was a bit of a snafu. And we met with the officer, and I got Coop in the car because we were going to head home and see if he needed medical treatment, which he did. We went to the University of Minnesota Children's Hospital with him. As we sat in the car, he looked at me and he said, "I didn't do anything." And his face was bruised, it was swollen. The marks were evident of a horrific attack. And I looked at him and I said, "You did everything. You did everything right in that moment. You did everything we ever had taught you. And you executed on it." And so we went through a 2-year healing journey with Coop, and he's still healing, but it's been 4 years. It'll be 4 years, January 18th. But the first 2 years were really hard for him and us. And we met so many amazing experts, psychologists, neuroscientists, physicians, like active military physicians that we actually got to come into contact with. And they all asked me the same question. What did you teach him? He could remain that calm in that moment. And I sat in that question and I thought, doesn't everyone teach their kid how to show up like that? In that moment of high stress? And probably not. Coop's autistic, so he's had a little extra coaching so that he could emotionally regulate in stressful situations, that he could communicate, that he could control himself and remain calm. And so he's had that coaching. But we sat down, and out of it came a framework, this methodology, and a toolbox with 7 specific tools that I've now since shared with other educators, parents, therapists, and it's manifested itself into the book, Jackie.
Oh my gosh. Okay, bell time.
That I told you years ago that I would write. I didn't know what it would be. I didn't know why it would be.
Yeah.
But I answered the call to help kids, to help parents, to help caregivers, educators, therapists, to help the next generation how to respond when life gets really hard and ugly. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I did.
Talk about thought leadership.
Yeah.
There are so many things here to unpack. The first place to go, what's coming to me immediately is like, okay, my daughter is 17, she's a senior in high school. And she had an experience, she has, like everybody, had moments when girls have been mean to her. And I wanted to literally take a girl that told her poetry sucked, and I wanted to put her head in the toilet and give her a flushie. So I can't imagine what that must have felt like as a parent. And then, to have taught your son how to remain grounded in that very scary, horrific moment, but also how you stayed grounded as a parent in that moment. So how did you learn how to do this? We just don't learn how to do these things.
Well, I probably have to give credit to my parents. I saw both my parents are super loving, super generous, just really authentic people. They are who they are, unapologetically. And I think a little bit of it comes from watching how they showed up in life situations. And they also always gave feedback. I've been given feedback of how to show up in situations since I was little. Yeah. And I passed that on to Cooper. But I also picked up some fundamental things like the 4 functions of behavior. And folks, if you don't know what those are, I encourage you to go Google 4 functions of behavior and look them up, because every behavior has a function, but there's only 4. Attention seeking, escape, which is also avoidance, and then tangible, I want that, and sensory. I do something sensory wise to make myself feel good, right? And if you don't know what the 4 functions of behavior are and you're raising a child or you're interacting with a colleague, how do you know how to respond? Because if you're dealing with attention seeking, but you're applying an avoidance or a tangible strategy, it's not going to work. It's not going to satisfy the behavior. So the behavior will continue.
Wow.
And so that was one of the gifts that Fraser taught us as we walked the autistic journey with Cooper, was the 4 functions of behavior. And I use them every day in my life, every single day, whether at home or at work.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it really is an anchor point for folks. And so, but we're not taught the 4 functions of behavior.
No, we are not.
We're out here in the wild, and we don't know why people are doing what they're doing, but we're trying to, in sales, we're trying to sell them something.
Yeah.
Hey, this will meet your need, but we're not watching the cues of the people that make the decision in the buying of why they're showing up the way they're showing up.
Yeah. That is so right and so smart. Tell people what Fraser is, for those who don't know what that is.
Yeah, so Fraser's an amazing organization that helps autistics and other neuro functioning deficits, whether it's ADHD or whatnot. We went there for autism, and we went for not only Cooper's therapy, speech, occupational, and emotional regulation. We also went as a family and like how to parent an autistic.
Yeah.
And it was just an amazing, because Sean and I needed to be a better team. And so we learned how to be a better team. And through that, what that did for me was to put Cooper at the center. And I don't mean like Cooper comes first every single time in life, but Cooper comes at the center as our daughter Charlie would come at the center when we're trying to teach them something, when we're trying to coach them, give them feedback on something. Have I observed them? Do I know them? How can I advocate for them in this moment when they don't have a voice? How can I motivate them in this moment when they don't feel like doing what I'm asking them to do? How do I need to participate? What am I teaching them? And how am I standing there doing it, modeling it for them, and being at their side and having their back through it all?
Okay, I know this book is about parenting, but like the leadership book is right behind it, because same, right? Same.
Yes, it is.
Well, and I love just the switching point of view of that, that you're really putting yourself in the other person's shoes and saying, instead of looking through my own eyes at the situation, let me look at it through their eyes. Let me think about that person, right? Which is what everybody who's ever done any professional development work in corporations or nonprofits, that's the work. That's the work.
It is.
I want to return to this story, the original story here, because you've written this book.
Yeah.
You have signed up to tell this story over and over and over again. And one of the things that I work on with the people I coach, as you'll recognize this most likely, is that there is writing that you do, there's speaking that you do, there's thought leadership that you do that is for the world.
Yes.
There's also writing, talking to other people, that you do for yourself and your own healing journey. Sometimes, those things go together. Sometimes what you write over here is what you end up sharing with the world. Other times it's not. And, so I remember one of my mentors had said to me, you need to be able to discern the difference.
Yeah.
And so how did you know that you were ready to tell this story publicly over and over and over again?
I think it came down to removing fear from the equation. I think that in this, our family became very small. Like, I removed myself from social media. I, went into more of an isolation. Obviously, I went to work every single day and performed. But as it related to my family life, we became really small, and we just needed to heal. And there was fear in sharing the story, because when you're a victim of such a traumatic and physically violent with impact, to one's physical, mental, and emotional well-being, it's just hard to relate. And so that's what we spent our time doing, was just really pulling in, getting really tight, and knowing our value, knowing our worth, but also knowing we will not operate out of fear, because the world needs this message now more than ever. Our youth are in crisis.
Yeah.
And parents, caregivers, educators that are listening, we need you. We need you to get engaged in teaching this skill, because we're only going to see more of the traumatic if we don't address it.
You are one of those voices that's being called right now to do the work that must be done at this time. Being called to bravely show up, to to say something that might upset people, that is not, vanilla, middle of the road. That can be scary. Like, I hear that all the time from the people that I coach. I feel that sometimes, right? Like, ooh, I don't know if I want to say what I really want to say, because it's scary. Like, the world can be very scary when you stand up and say things that you have a strong point of view about. How do you get that courage?
I think the impact is greater than the fear. The impact that one can have is greater than any, and it's our story, right? Like, this is our family story. This is Cooper's story. This is my story. I lived it. So nothing that anyone can say out there can take that. And they can't twist it. They can't weaponize it. They can't shame me with it. I'm just standing in it.
Yeah.
And knowing what we lived, and knowing that it can help others. So I think that's the part.
That's beautiful. Well, and you had talked too about how you thought about this boy who beat up your son so violently.
Yeah.
Your thinking around that just was amazing. Can you share your thoughts on your thinking about him?
Yeah. Obviously I was angry, right? Like, who wouldn't be? I don't think I'd be normal or typical or whatever if I wasn't angry. I was angry, but then I was sad. Because if you think about it this way, this is where my sadness came in for that young boy, is he was 12 years old. And my sadness set in really when we were sitting in the courtroom, because criminal charges were brought against him by the DEA of our county. And he was convicted and sentenced on third-degree assault felony charges at the age of 12.
Oh my gosh.
And that's like life-altering. But what he did to Cooper was also life-altering.
Yeah.
And what came for me in that sadness was that he had so much anger in his 12-year-old body that he was okay inflicting that kind of harm and pain and injury onto another human being. And that to me is sad.
Yeah.
There's no other word for it.
Gosh, the compassion of that. It's incredible.
Yeah.
We were talking about, you went to a holiday party.
Yeah. Yeah. Just yesterday.
Just yesterday you went. And I'd love to have you tell this story because I think it illustrates something really important about thought leadership.
Mm.
So can you tell us the story, and we'll not keep
Yeah.
people in suspense for too long?
Yeah. So I won't name names, but I hadn't seen a colleague that I used to work with about 10, 12 years ago. And I got to see him yesterday. I was so excited because he's just an awesome dude. And we just always got along really well. And it's like, oh my gosh, we get to see each other and hang for the day. And we were standing around, waiting for bingo to start. And we were sharing Diet Cokes in our hands. And somehow the conversation came up about, he asked about Coop and how he was doing. And then somehow the situation that we had lived came up. And I was sharing it with him. And as I was sharing it, and I was sharing the abbreviated version of it, because we're at a work function, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to get all emotional. And he starts to pace. And he's physically pacing. And then he starts like grabbing his forehead and he's rubbing his forehead. And he's like, he keeps, what? What happened? And he was grasping at, his mind was filling in blanks because he didn't have all the details, but I don't know if any of the details would have helped his mind reconcile what his emotions were saying in his physical behavior. And he was trying to reconcile logically, how did this happen? How could this happen? What? This is insane, right? Mm-hmm. And what I took away from that was this, that it is a really powerful story. And that it is my responsibility to be sharing this at any moment, whether, it's here on 1,000 Cups of Coffee or in that one-on-one setting at the holiday party before bingo starts. I'm here to open hearts and minds. And it really does. It for some people, I feel like I punched him in the gut. I felt like he was in that much physical pain and emotional like turmoil as he heard it.
Yeah. One of the things about thought leadership that is really hard for people to wrestle with is the fact that you have created now this piece. You can hold it up again. Your beautiful book. There it is. Response
by Marsha Erickson. I'm going to give her a plug. Marsha Erickson.
Did what? The design?
She did the design. Marsha.
Fantastic. Yeah. It looks great. It looks great. And it's coming out in January
18th, 2026. Pre-orders are available now.
Okay. And we'll talk about why that date in just a minute.
Yeah.
So you create this beautiful book. You pour your heart into it. You write the stories. You've got this methodology that people can use, teachers, therapists, parents. You put it down on paper. You get up on a stage and you speak about it. You go to a holiday party and you speak about it. Once that act is done,
yeah,
you have no control over the other person's response to your work. Zero control. So there's a story that I tell a lot, that because it was the moment that I was really like, oh my gosh, because our art, your art, our art, whatever that looks like, right? You are an artist now who's created this beautiful creation, hard, challenging, beautiful creation. And so how art intersects with somebody is based entirely on the person experiencing the art. And it may or may not be our interpretation. It may not be what we wanted to say. It may be like they are misconstruing something. I will never forget this. I went to my very first dance performance of like modern dance. And a friend of mine brought me, and it was this incredible performance troupe here in Minneapolis, TU Dance, TU. And I will never forget it because there was this scene where all of these dancers were lined up at the back of the stage. And there was this woman standing in the center, and she was dressed in this very tight gray pencil skirt and a white button-down shirt. And she had her hair in a very tight bun. So she, looked like a working woman.
Yeah.
And beside her, everybody, so all of the dancers were lined up together and they were doing this really militaristic arm movement. And they were all doing the same exact movement. And so she started marching up the stage toward the front while everybody stayed back and they were still doing this very military kind of movement. And she stops at the front of the stage and she starts doing it faster and faster and faster and faster. And pretty soon, like, her hair is coming out of the bun and her shirt is coming untucked and it's faster and faster and faster and faster. And then after a little while, the rest of the troupe comes marching up the stage to where she is. They turn around and they have these, I don't know if they're fake, real, I'm not sure, but somehow from somewhere they pulled out these bouquets of flowers. And they started turning around to go back to the back of the stage. They started hitting themselves on the back with these bouquets of flowers. And then there would be these huge, like, bursts of petals. And I burst into tears. And my friend sitting beside me, she burst into tears. And so at the very end, we turned to each other and she was like, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, "Why are you crying?" And so we compared notes. My response to this was, "Oh my gosh, this poor woman, she is working so hard and she just keeps doing the same thing over and over and over again. And she just needs to stop, like, do something else." You know, it's like, and so that was why I was like, she's overworked, she's burnt out. My friend, her response was, "Here is this woman and no one will help her."
Oh.
Isn't that interesting? It says so much about each of us.
Yes. Yes.
So when that happened, I just think about every piece of art we're putting into the world. And you had this experience with this guy who got so riled up on your behalf for whatever his reasons are.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be okay, right? With, like, people just reacting from wherever they're at. How does that sit for you?
I think it's just a reminder. It's a reminder that how we show up is so important. How we show up every single day in the moments is so important. That's what I take away from it. You know, I've had colleagues cry in front of me over this. I've had physicians stop the appointment, push their chair against the back of the wall, and cry with me.
Wow.
And they're like, "I need a minute to pull myself together." And to me, it's the reminder that it's real, it's important, and there's impact behind this.
Yeah.
And so and everyone is responding to it differently, right? Everyone, and that's what's beautiful about it. I had a former colleague, she sent me this beautiful thank you note. And I just sat in that thank you note for 2 days. And I read it to Cooper and we both cried. I read Cooper every note, every piece of feedback we receive. I read it to Cooper and with Cooper. And we just cried. And her take from the book, because she read the book early copy of it, she said, "Cooper reminded me of my awesomeness, that I'm awesome." And I think that's the whole point, is everyone will take something unique away from it, but hopefully it fuels them in the way they need to be fueled. Like, get angry, get angry. Let's make change happen, right? Sometimes change comes from anger. Sometimes change comes from seeing the beauty within yourself. I am awesome. I'm awesome. So I think that's what I take away from it.
I love that so much. I'm going to take a break here to tell you something really important. Hi, friend. I'm Jacquelyn Fletcher Johnson. I'm an executive coach, a visibility accelerator, a maker of events that connects people to editors and agents and TED folks and the people that can open doors to all of those bigger stages and opportunities. I've been a conference designer, an editor-in-chief, a head of a radio station, and I have seen firsthand what makes really, really good ideas and really extraordinary voices stand out. If you want to get your voice into the world in a bigger way and build your thought leadership platform and write a book or start a podcast or get on big stages, then you'll want to pay attention to this. The Gateway Gathering and Pitch Fest, the next edition of it, is happening October 6th to the 8th of this year in 2026. And I always do 90-day sprints, coaching sprints leading up to it. I do a lot of one-on-one coaching. I only have a handful of spots, however, that regularly fill and sell out. And so I decided to add a group coaching sprint. We're starting in the middle of April, and you'll be able to sprint for 90 days, find your mission and message, work on your presence and delivery, and perfect that pitch that maybe you're going to pitch in front of all these agents and editors and the head of TED and entertainment execs in October. So if you want to be a part of it, check out the links below and apply. And now back to the show. You've got all of these tools in the book. Can you, and they're fantastic. Can you give us an example of, a tool that you recommend to people?
So I think I didn't put all my tools in there, but I put like my top 7.
Okay.
And I would say and everyone can do this today. So like, you don't have to have children. You don't have to be at home. You can do this at work. You can do this with other adults. 2-1 none. So 2-1 none.
2-1 none. Okay.
It takes 2 people to argue. If one drops out, there's no arguing. And that is one that we taught Cooper really early on. And that is the one that he called upon in that moment in the cafeteria that day. And he made a conscious decision to disengage so that the fighting would stop. And when the fighting stops, then we can, collect ourselves. And so I see this at work. I see this in meetings, right? There's this tension, and it's unhealthy. Sometimes it's healthy to have tension. Don't get me wrong. But then there's this unhealthy version of it. Like it comes out catty, it comes out shame, it comes out condescending, right? 2-1 none that person. You don't have to engage. No one said you had to engage. Just 2-1 none. Drop out. Be the one to drop out. It doesn't mean that you're being complicit. It doesn't mean that you're excusing how they're treating you or others. It means that you're rising to a higher level of existence, and you have the ability to respond in a more mature, healthy way.
We could all use that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I use 2-1 none all the time. People in line at a store, they're getting all sassy with the clerk, and I'm just like, just
2-1 none. 2-1 none.
Don't engage. Don't engage.
I'm wondering if I have any sound effects for that, because that would be awesome. Let me see here. I have. No, that's not right. Is it? Oh, yeah, that's kind of what. What do you like?
You're putting the pin on it, right? Doink. Doink. I'm bouncing out of here.
You are.
No.
So, and Coop used that, right? He used that in another experience before this. So what happened then?
He did. So Coop plays soccer. He's played soccer since he was 3, and soccer can be super competitive. And you think boys can't be catty? I got a clue for you. They're probably cattier than girls, especially with cleats on. And some of Cooper's mates at the time knew he was autistic. Other mates did not. And it's not something that, he wears a sign and he's like, I'm autistic. When he's on the soccer field, you wouldn't ever know he's autistic because he is such a high performing player. So he is out at practice one day, and these 2 kids decide to call him the R word. And they just keep hammering him and hammering him and hammering him with the R word. And Cooper asked him to stop, and they wouldn't stop. He had a couple buddies that were mates of his they came in, they're like, "Hey, stop. Why are you talking to him like that?" Some more joined in on the R word, some more joined in on the stop, like, "Stop." And Cooper, he asked that time for them to stop. He made the request known, and they didn't do it. So Cooper went over to the sidelines, he grabbed his bag, and he hopped in the pickup truck, and he came home. Because he knew it was better for him mentally, emotionally, physically to disengage from that, and that it wasn't worth participating in. It wasn't worth getting angry. It wasn't worth throwing fists. It wasn't worth any of that drama.
Yeah.
He chose, I'll 2-1 none them. And they weren't even smart enough to realize they were being 2-1 nunned.
That's hilarious. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of presence to be able to do that, and I'm just thinking about, one of the rules that we have, and I try to do this in other places, not just home, is, I know I'm angry in the moment, and I know I have to go away for a while and calm down and figure out what I even think about this. But, like, one of the promises that I always make to my daughter and to my family and my husband is, "I'll be back."
Yeah.
And so that's the part, like, I wonder about, like, what's the return if there is one? I know some cases, like, no, I'm not going to return, but there's other cases, right, where you have to say, hey, no, that wasn't okay.
Right.
How do you coach on that part of the process? Because there is the whole, there's actually research on that, right? On pulling out of a conflict,
Mhm.
and the good that that can do. And then, do you stay in relationship? How do you come back and deal with whatever it is? What do
Yeah,
you
in that situation, that particular situation, we escalated to the right resources. Let's let
Okay.
the adults handle this.
Yeah, so let's ding that, because hold on, we got to ding that. Yeah, so you escalated to the right resources.
Yes. And
Okay.
then we put it in their hands,
Yep.
and we asked them to deal with player code of conduct.
Okay.
And we remained in coaching Cooper. It doesn't matter what happens to them. The
Mhm.
consequences is insignificant. You're gonna show up tomorrow for game day,
Yeah.
you're gonna put the cleats on, and you're gonna perform like you always do. But know that other people are handling the situation on your behalf. And whether you like the results or the consequence method or, the public shaming that could come with such a thing, you don't get to decide.
Mhm.
What you get to decide is how you're gonna continue to show up. How are you anchoring to your values and
Mm.
how you show up? So I think that's the important part in the return
Yeah.
is you have to continue to anchor to who you are and your values and not carry it with you. You've gotta let it go.
Mm.
Gotta let it go.
It's like I can hear people thinking this in my head. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But I'm just wondering about, all the advice that you get about, well, if there's a bully, you stand up to the bully so that they stop
Right.
bullying you.
Yeah.
How does this fit into that thinking?
Okay, I've got a really cool story about that.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked or, like, said that. So, this has to deal with our daughter, Charlie. So, Charlie's 2 years older than Cooper, and she had a bully in kindergarten, she had a bully in 1st grade, she had a bully in 2nd grade, she had a bully in 3rd grade. Same guy, same kid, every year. We would escalate to the appropriate channels. We'd see this reoccurring theme of it would resolve, but then it would return, it would resolve and return. So I said, "You know what? I wanna get to know this kid." So I volunteered for a school field trip. We were going to the Arboretum here in Minnesota, and that little kid came up to me when he saw me in the hallway and he knew I was one of the chaperones for the day. He said, "You're Charlie's mom, aren't you?" I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "You hate me, don't you?" And I said, buddy, I don't know you to hate you. I said, I'll tell you what I do hate. I hate that you treat Charlie the way you do, but I don't apply that to you. I said, I'd love to get to know you. So he didn't have anybody to sit with on the bus. So I sat next to him. I said, can I sit next to you? He said, yeah, sure. And I sat next to him and we chatted the whole way, the whole ride out there. When we were at the Arboretum, he didn't get put in my group, but he wanted to be in my group. And I told the teacher, I said, hey, it's cool if he wants to be with our group. I'm cool with that. If you're cool with that, she said, oh, you can have him. I said, okay, I'll take him. And so we went and we toured the whole Arboretum during that field trip together with the other kids that were in my group. And then on the way back, the buses were pulling up and he looked at me and he said, can I sit next to you on the ride back? I said, I'd love to sit next to you on the ride back. I'd love that. So we sat next to each other on the ride back. And now the kids are a little bit more rambunctious, right? They just like played at the Arboretum. And so they had all this energy, good energy returning because we had been outside. And as they were playing, these girls that were sitting around us were playing, you know, those patty cake games, you know, and you got to do all these fancy hand moves and stuff.
Yeah.
And he looked at me, he said, would you do that with me? And I said, oh man, I said, I don't know. I might end up smacking you in the face if I make the wrong move. I said, I'm a little worried one of us is going to get hurt. I don't know what I'm doing. He said, I'll teach you. I'll teach you. And so we, you know, he taught me and I got I got used to it and I understood what was going on. So we played that the whole ride back. We played like that hand game stuff. And then when we got off the bus, he waited for me, you know, on the sidewalk outside of the school. And he said, Miss Rachel? And I said, yeah. He said, I've never had anyone treat me as kind as you treated me today. He said, I'm going to make a promise to you. I'm going to treat Charlie how you treated me today. And ever since then, Charlie had a new friend, not a bully. So how are we responding to people?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So there's an entire career for you here of going to speak to corporations about bullies. There is an entire career for you here about going to speak to parents, to all of us. Wow. Wow. What a beautiful story. That I hope that's book number 2.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I want to give that a little spaciousness. It was just so powerful. So we're going to pivot.
Okay, I'm ready.
I don't know if I have a sound effect for pivoting.
Just a deep belly breath.
Just a deep belly breath. I love it.
I needed one of those.
Yeah, let's all just take a nice deep belly breath. I love that. Okay. So you are pitching at the Gateway Gathering and Pitch Fest.
I am. I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. And as part of this journey, we're coaching. I'm coaching you. You're building a pitch. We're going to coach about your thought leadership and how to take this stuff out into the world. You're going to go up in front of Monique Ruffbell, Chief Program and Strategy Officer from TED, Joy Tutela from the David Black Literary Agency, Shabna Mogharabi, who is an entertainment executive and producer. She created a whole media company with the actor Rainn Wilson from The Office. They had over 1 billion views of their videos and their media. How are you feeling? How are you prepping? How are you, How are you getting ready for this thing?
Well, you're coaching me. That's point step number 1. I was just telling my daughter, I was like, there's more into this than one would think. You just don't grab the microphone, hit the stage, and like, ta-da, I showed up. There's a lot of thought, effort, work into it. And I think a lot of it is getting comfortable with the emotions that it invokes in me when I speak about it, right? One
Yeah.
lesson that you taught me is it's okay to show emotion and it's okay to cry, but be in control of it.
Yes.
And so like I didn't know I'd get that emotional about that 3rd grade field trip with that little boy, but it hits me in my heart. Like
Mhm.
that's such a powerful thing. And so that's, one of the lessons. I think the other lesson thing that I'm preparing is be crisp and clear.
Yeah.
Be crisp and clear and make sure that you're getting the message out, the most important message out. What is that?
Yeah.
And I think emotionally, just being open to the journey and how people are going to receive it and use that as energy, use that as a reason to wake up, use that as a reason to, wrestle with, it brings me back to that moment,
Yeah.
driving and going to get Cooper that day. Like all of it brings me back and how do I harness it? So
Mhm.
those are the things, and I'm sure there's so much more to learn, right? And that's where I'm at. I'm just standing in a position of learning. Like
Mm.
I know that this is going to have impact, and I want to be prepared for that impact. I want to be prepared so that people can receive it.
Mm. I love that perspective so that people can receive it. Can I share the story about the breathing exercises we did this morning?
Yes. Yes.
So we had a coaching call this morning, and I was talking about breath because, as somebody who's going to get on a stage, this is your instrument. Your body is your instrument. Your voice is your instrument. And so I was talking about how where is your breath coming from? Because that's really, really important to support you when you get on that stage and you're nervous and things are going wrong. Like I remember the first time I ever spoke in front of a huge multi-thousand person audience. I was terrified and struggled with stage fright for much of my career, but I felt so compelled to get on that stage anyway because I felt like the messaging was just so important that I had to be on that stage. And I have all kinds of tricks and things that I would do, but the
Mhm.
breath is critical. And so I loved how we were like, okay, when you're like really solid and you're ready to deliver that message and you're in your body, I said, where is your breath? And you were like, my belly. And it was awesome because that's where we want it. Like you want your breath, your tummy going in and out like the bellows, right? And then I was like, okay, think about something that makes you really nervous. And immediately you put your hands here.
Mhm.
And then I said, now imagine you're pitching in front of Monique Ruffbell, the head of all content at TED. And you were like, it's in my belly. Like, you are ready for this, girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. It's so awesome. But I think that's when being ready for it is knowing that what you have to say is, like you said earlier, more important than fear. It's more
That's right.
important than getting in your own way. It's
Mhm.
more important.
Yeah. It is. It is.
Wow. Okay, I always do two things with people. We still have, about 9 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Um, and so it looks like Ava said, anyone need tissues? Yes, all of us. Um, every time I talk to Rachel, it's like it's so profound. Like your approach to things is so profound. I just hope you hear that you really see, that you have something very special here. And what I love that you've done is you've just leaned so far into who you are with your
Mhm.
beautiful northern Minnesota accent, which I love beyond measure, that
Yes.
you just have leaned into who you are
Yes.
fully, and you're open to all this learning that you're doing. Like those two things together, that's what this is all about. That's what authentic, true voice is all about. Yeah. Well, hold on. We have a question here. How do you make sure you're in control of your emotions enough to go on stage or even just to talk to a bullying colleague? Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. What do you think?
I took a deep breath. I took a deep belly breath on that one because I just sitting in that. I'll ground to what I've taught Cooper and Charlie to ground to, which is your values as a human being. What do you value? And how does that translate to how you show up and treat others? Because, the old adage, you want you want others to treat you how you treat them. They're not always going to.
Yeah.
So don't have that expectation, because that's a false expectation.
Yeah.
But what you can guarantee every single time with 100% certainty, you can guarantee how you will treat others.
Yeah.
And that's how I do it. Like, I've been bullied before at work, and I will not return it. I will not send it back. I don't keep it on me either. I'm not going to let it stick to me.
Yeah.
But it does take reflection, and it does take understanding, going back to the 4 functions of behavior. How did that person show up in that morning? What was the function of that behavior? And getting to that, because you can ask all sorts of things of what did I do?
Yeah.
But that's the wrong question. What function are they exhibiting, and what are they satisfying with that function of showing up that way and treating you that way?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So powerful. I think we all need to go look that up. I'm going to go find it and link it below this. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the book really quickly because it's coming out on a very particular day.
Yes. January 18th, 2026. It's a Sunday. It's a weird day to pick, right? Sunday? What? We pick that day because January 18th, 2022 is the day that Cooper was attacked. So now 4 years later, we're going to redefine that day for our family. And we're going to take the power back, and we're going to show the world that you can live through such a horrific, violent act, and you can respond, and you can redefine, and you can shine a light on it for others.
Beautiful. That's gorgeous. So where can people purchase it?
So you can get it at any bookstore online. So Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, bookstore.org. You can get it anywhere.
And what's the title again for everyone?
Responsibility. And the subtitle, How the Need to Unlock a Child's Ability to Respond Shapes the Way We Love, Care, Support, and Uplift. It's about us. It's about us.
I love that.
How are we doing it? How are we doing it?
Where can people find you? We will link it, of course, but where can people find you?
So my name.com. So RachelEstesLeyk.com.
Okay.
That's right. And LinkedIn.
And LinkedIn right here. On
connect with me. Connect with me. I'd love to connect.
Definitely. That would be fantastic. So I always ask people 2 questions at the very end.
Yeah.
One is really about, so if we think coffee, tea, what from our conversation do you think people should let steep? What's a reflection?
Can I pick 2?
Of course. Yeah, why not?
So the first one is the 4 functions of behavior. I do encourage everyone to just sit in that and then practice it. Practice watching, observing someone's behavior, their words, right? And try to understand the function. And then really challenge yourself in what is your response if that's the function. And we have a whole section in the book that is that exercise. Is if this, it's this, then what? Right?
Yeah.
So we have that whole thing. And then the second thing would be, I would put this challenge out to all of us. Who can you put at the center? And how can you advocate for them, motivate them, participate with them? The AMP model, start putting some people at the center. And again, it's not about them versus you or prioritizing them over others, but truly understanding them and coming alongside them.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one, let it steep. The other one is take a leap. So what kind of a leap of faith, what kind of leap into the unknown would you encourage people to do?
Oh, that's a really, that's a big question. Okay, I got it.
Okay, ready.
Try to see the person or persons that you have conflict with. Try to see them differently. Try to like, just like the story I shared about Charlie and her bully.
Yeah.
Try to see them differently.
Okay, that could take the rest of our entire lives, but we could do it because it could take a moment just to change your point of view.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you. You're amazing, Rachel, everyone. Hold on. I have to do one more thing here because it just makes me so happy. So Rachel Estes Leyk, everyone. So good. And you can see her at the Gateway Gathering and Pitch Fest this January 13th to the 15th of 2026. Check it out at gateway-project.com and you can come and see her and learn all the things you need to do to get your own message into the world. Thank you, Rachel. This has been extraordinary.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on and sharing this with your community. It's just an absolute gift. And thank you for coaching me. Thank you for listening to me when I was 30 something. I think I was 30, maybe 20 something back in the day. I had a dream and I shared that with you and you held that with me. You held that space. And then today, we're now arrived at the point where you're going to coach me to stages and spaces where it will live on.
I love it. I see you on that stage, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Ideas Love Community podcast. It is so thrilling to me that you're here, that you're listening, that you're watching, because ideas do love community. And I need your help. Please review, please subscribe, please share this with your friends. The ones that you know have something big to say, the ones that give you chills when they open their mouth and tell you their ideas about the world. Those are the folks. We're building a community here, a community that needs to be visible. Because you see, my job is to activate the voice of soul in the world. And your voice is critically important in the times we're living in. The voice that comes from the center of you, the one that has to be heard. All right, my friend, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, be huge. Have you longed to use your voice, yearned to express yourself in a bigger way? Have you felt like you've got something important to do on the planet while you're here? If so, you're in the right place. This is the Ideas Love Community podcast, and I'm your host, Jacquelyn Fletcher Johnson.